This is K1DBC. All stations please stand by. The Denver Radio Club Learning Net starts in 5 minutes.
W0TX repeater.
The shape and size of an antenna is a function of its purpose. But whatever its physical form, it is designed to transmit and receive electromagnetic waves. Let us first consider a hypothetical antenna, the point source. From such a source, energy radiates outwards in all directions. Let us examine this process more closely. The radiated energy can be represented by a traveling waveform of this shape. The waveform normally follows a sine curve. We will consider one complete cycle of the wave. It is defined as one wavelength. We can relate the wavelength of the radiation to the antenna which produced it. An antenna which accommodates half a wavelength is the simple dipole. If we feed a signal to this antenna, an electron flow will be set up within it. The electron flow first produces a maximum concentration in this direction, reverses, then produces a maximum in the opposite direction. Flow reverses, maximum. This cycle repeats itself at the signal frequency. This electron flow creates a fluctuating magnetic field. Let us relate the direction of this field to the electron flow. As the electron flow reverses, the magnetic field is at a maximum, and the lines of force are in this direction. When the flow stops, the lines of force collapse. As the flow reverses, the field again reaches a maximum. The lines of force are now in the opposite direction. The magnetic field thus reverses its direction at each half cycle of the signal frequency. This is known as the H field. The strength of this field is proportional to the amplitude of the current standing wave. This current standing wave is 90 degrees out of phase with the voltage standing wave. At this instant, the antenna has a positive voltage at this end and a negative voltage at this end.
All right, that was a video put on by the Film Board of Canada for the Royal Canadian Air Force. So I'll put a link in here to the chat. This is K1DBC. The DRC Learning Net will start in 1 minute. All stations please stand by while the repeaters are placed into net mode.
PL off.
Hello and welcome back to the Denver Radio Club Learning Net. This is Kilo 1, Delta Bravo Charlie, and my name is Daron. That's spelled Delta Oscar, Romeo Oscar November. I am Net Control. This is a casual conversation where we can discuss ham radio and STEM topics in general, and thankfully we have plenty of combined expertise and experience. We meet every Wednesday, except the third Wednesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time on 145.490 and 448.625. Both have a negative offset. 2 meter uses 600 kHz and 70 centimeter uses 5 MHz, meaning you transmit on 144.890 or 448.025 respectively. This net can be broken at any time for emergency or priority traffic by using the word break. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? You can contact us via email at drclearningnet@gmail.com. We also post our info at groups.io/g/ham learning net, as well as stream and archive our nets on youtube.com/WEREGR8. If you search on YouTube for our club call sign W0TX Whiskey 0 Tango X-Ray, or my call sign Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie, you can find it by that as well. This is K1DVC Net Control. We'll begin by inviting Elmers only to check in with or without traffic. All Elmers, please check in now.
Alpha Echo Zero, Golf, Quebec. Tom in Aurora.
Kilo Alpha Zero, Victor Bravo Alpha, Curtis in Lakewood.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Evening, Tom. Evening, everyone here on YouTube. Appreciate you hanging out here. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Net Control would like to thank and acknowledge the following Elmers: AE0GQ Tom and KA0VBA Curtis. Thank you both for checking in. Again, that comes with no responsibilities. If you have some knowledge of something, you can always check in as an Elmer. Again, if you'd like to check in as an Elmer with or without traffic, all Elmers, please check in now.
W0TX Repeater.
You know a few things. You know a few things. All right. All other check-ins to the net will be taken in alphabetical groups based on the first letter of the suffix of the operator's call sign. The suffix is the first letter after the number in your call sign. That's what it starts with. It starts with the first the first letter after the number in your call sign. If you can, please try to use ITU phonetics as you check in and indicate if you have traffic or questions as you do. If your suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, please check in now.
Kilo Zero, Kilo Papa Sierra, Kevin Lakewood, no traffic.
Kilo Zero, Bravo Alpha Tango, Art in Aurora, no traffic.
Area in Lakewood.
November 0, Echo Yankee Zulu, Jim in South Jefferson County, no traffic.
K6HJV, Kilo 6 Hotel, Juliet Victor, Tom, Arvada, no traffic. WD0 CIB, WD0 CIB, Charles and Denver, no traffic.
Whiskey.
Alpha Fox Zero Echo Alex Brownfield.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Golf Hotel Foxtrot.
I gotta take a sip of water, and I hear a call sign that I hadn't heard before, so that's what happens there. Let's see. Yeah, it'll be this one. That's what I thought. Thanks, Tom. Alright, this is K1 DBC Net Control. We'll go hold up there for just a moment. Smash that like button, ding that bell. Like, rate, and subscribe. No, never have to do that, but appreciate all of that. Alright, this is K1 DBC Net Control. I'd like to welcome to knowledge the following check-ins. K0KPS Kevin, K0BAT Art, K0LAI Larry, N0EYZ Jim, K6HJV Tom, WD0CIV Charles, W0BKS Barb, AF0E Alex, and KF0GHF Sean. Thank you all so much for checking in. All right, once more, if your call suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, and you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net just for the count, or if you have any comments or questions, please do so with your call sign, your name, and let us know if you have any traffic or questions. Please call now.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Foxtrot Papa India, Evans and Lakewood with traffic.
All right, this is Net Control, K1 DBC. We're going to hold up there for just a moment. Net Control would like to welcome and acknowledge the following check-ins. Glad to hear you on the net here. KF0GHR Cora, KF0GHQ Anya, KF0GHP Niobe, and KF0 FPI Evans with traffic. Glad to hear everyone checking in there. It's a family here on our recent roundtable newsletter. Passed some tests here, so it's glad to hear them checking in here. It's awesome. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. We'll go ahead and open up the whole alphabet. If your suffix begins with the letters A through Z, Alpha through Zulu, and you'd like to check in to the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, If you have any traffic or questions, let us know, and let us know your call sign and name. Please call now.
Kilo Echo Zero, Sierra Uniform Mike. Jonathan, Lakewood.
Nope.
KG5, Papa Delta Foxtrot. Jake, Denver.
November 0, Tango Romeo Papa, Jim in Lakewood. I was the double.
Sounds good. All right, this is Net Control. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge the following check-ins: KE0 S.t.e.m Jonathan, N0TRP Jim, and KG5 PDF Jake. Thank you all for checking in, and no problem about the double there. Yeah, whole alphabet open up for the for all check-ins. Call suffixes Alpha through Zulu, A through Z. If you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, just a general Q&A about electronics, ham radio, STEM and STEAM, everything. So if you have any traffic or questions or just for the count, please let us know your call sign, your name, and let us know if you have any traffic or questions. Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. That time we had Alpha Bravo 8, Whiskey November. Pete, thank you for checking in. Just as a reminder, you can always check in online on YouTube if you're not licensed or if you're not in the Denver metro area. You can search on YouTube for our club call sign, Whiskey 0 Tango X-Ray, or my call sign, Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie. I'll throw it back out to the net. At the moment, are there any other further check-ins? Just at the moment, please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I guess with that, if I missed that you had traffic, let me know, but the first person I saw that had traffic was Evans, KF0 FPI. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Jerome. I'm building two Yagi or beam antennas, however you would like to call them. I'm doing a 6 meter and a 2 meter. And my number one question to the net, what would be the best antenna analyzer to buy to tune these in? I'm not comfortable doing it on the transmitter with the SWR. And how far do you think a directional could go on both bands?
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Good question there, Evans, KF0 FPI. Yeah, I have still yet to delve into Yagi builds, but I mean, line of sight, we communicate with the International Space Station, which is hundreds of miles away, I'd imagine. So line of sight, it seems that you should be able to communicate as long as you have that. In regards to the antenna analyzer, I think we've spoken about in the past the NanoVNA, Nano Vector Network Analyzer. It's a little bit of, it takes a little bit of working to get used to it and just kind of understanding the measurements. But for $8,200, you can measure SWR and different S parameters and get those tuned in pretty well. I'll throw it out to the net though. Anybody have any comments or questions in regards to that question there? Yagi antenna build, a 2 meter, I think you said 70 centimeter, maybe a 6 meter, and then measuring it. Anyone on that? Go ahead.
A0GQ.
Yeah, Tom, AE0GQ. Tom, go ahead.
I would second your choice of the NanoVNA. It does take a little bit more work to figure out how to use it. It's got a little trickier to deal with than some of the others. However, if you are to the point where you want to build Yagis, it might prove to be worthwhile to learn how to use it and use the other functions, the things like return loss and that sort of thing that you can use with it. So I would second that choice. The others that are out there, I don't know. I think the MFJ will go up high enough, the D model as far as frequency, and you can get a ring expert. If you were just putting up HF antennas, you want to do it quick and dirty and fast, a ring expert, which is quite a bit more money, I'm going to drop for a moment. Ring expert, which is frankly quite a bit more money, but on the other hand, it's a lot easier to use, and you don't have to think so much about it. It would be a fine choice, but if you're gonna sit there and experiment, yeah, a NanoVNA. The only thing you have to be kind of careful about is where to buy it. Unfortunately, there are thousands of Chinese clones out there on Amazon, and some of them may be a little bit cheaper, but they're hard to upgrade and everything else. Hang on just one moment. If you go to, I think it's nanovna.org, I believe is the link. That's the developers, and they do have some suggested places to purchase. It may cost you a few dollars more, but I think you will be happier in the long run. And I'll see if I can't find that URL. Back to Nat, A0GQ.
All right, A0GQ, this is K1DBC. Yeah, thanks for the information there. Yeah, I just updated my really early generation NanoVNA, and there was a fairly good article that kind of showed some of the differences between some of the different versions and the releases, hardware, things like that. Yeah, being an open source product, it got developed by a few different people, and then there was several revisions built upon that. So yeah, there's different sources and different quality that you can get. So in regards to Evan's question, KF0 FPI, yeah, I think you did mention a 2 meter, 6 meter Yagi antenna. As Tom mentioned there, yeah, an MFJ antennalizer, a little bit more costly, but probably is a bit easier to use. Whereas a NanoVNA is a bit cheaper, but there's quite a lot to it. It takes a little bit of a learning, but there's a lot of potential that you can and function you can get out of it. So. Evans or anyone else on that, go ahead.
Yeah, this is KF0 FPI. I was kind of eyeballing that Charlie Alpha 500 from Comet. It's a little pricey from Gigaparts, but it looked like a pretty good meter and would go to 500 meg if I needed it to.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you feel comfortable with, that's probably should work. I mean, Comment is definitely a pretty good reputable manufacturer. RF products. It's probably very similar to the anything we've spoken about, and it should get you the basic parameters to get good transmit and receive on those home-built Yagis. So, yeah, that's a good another good option there. So, very, very cool. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I guess, does anybody else have any comments, questions, anything in regards to that question that was brought up about home-built Yagi antennas, highly directional antennas? You often see them kind of with the homemade tape measure or otherwise, and often used in like some satellite communications. So yeah, I'll throw it back out to the net. Does anybody have any comments, questions in regards to building or using those and or measuring anything off of them? Go ahead.
It's KG5 PDF.
Yeah, KG5 PDF. Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, good topic here. Fantastic idea. Hopping on a beam on 2 meters is, if you live clear out of town, it opens up your world back into some of the metro repeaters for sure. And I've even done a little bit of simplex on them, so very cool to experiment in that direction. I keep telling myself I'm going to get on some sideband or something one of these days. But in regards to the analyzer there, I will mention the one thing that did disappoint me about the VNA is it tends to be hard to see outdoors. Maybe I got a generic version possibly with a little more glossy screen. And maybe some kind of anti-glare screen protector could help that, but it is difficult to see. So especially when I'm tuning for a specific band, I have a tendency to grab the old MFJ 259B. It has the analog meters on it, and it also has the old-fashioned LCD display on it. And it's very, very readable outdoors. But sometimes, when you're dealing with multi-band antenna or just something you don't know anything about at all, that graph on that NanoVNA is super cool.
GQ.
All right, KG5 PDF, Jake. Yeah, good information there. Yeah, the NanoVNA, I was just bringing it up here, and I just lost it. But yeah, it's very, very small. The screen is probably not suited for outdoor usage within the sun. Probably very hard to see. Another thing I was going to try to bring up is with at least a piece of software that you can load onto your computer to make it at least easier to read out some of that information. AE0GQ, Tom, go ahead.
The software you're looking for is called NanoVNA Saber, I believe is the name of it, and it's also available, because I didn't get to say it on the air, it's nanovna.com, and they will tell you where to get the, quote, official ones. Part of the problem is some of the clones are really cruddy. They left off shielding and stuff like that, and I think the guys that were writing the software got tired of supporting it. The clones, so they pretty well cut off a lot of support for the older ones, and they're only supporting the new ones. However, there is a nice page that shows you all the links that you can get the official ones, so to speak, from like Gigaparts and New Electric and R&L. So that is probably a good choice. Also, there is an Amazon link for one of them that sells the official ones, so you're better off to go that way. Certainly, the MFJ is a lot easier to use. Can't use a B for his high frequency because I don't think it goes up high enough. Because that was one of the changes. They went from A, B, C, and D on those MFJs. But it certainly is a lot easier to read that MFJ outside. And the NanoVNA is not nearly as easy. However, as Jerome pointed out, you can plug in a USB cable and stick it in on a little laptop, something like that. And I think you can find that software for free on their website. It's NanoSaber. I think it's NanoSaber-QT is the name of it. Back to net, A0GQ.
All right, A0GQ, Tom, this is K1DBC Drone Net Control. Yeah, thanks for the information there. Yeah, exactly. Different different options out there, and you know what, kind of whatever fits best for you. The NanoVNA, a little bit cheaper, but has a lot of potential, and if you have a little bit of know-how within a computer, you can get all that information out fairly easily readable, and to do a lot of measurements just right at your fingertips. So NanoVNA.com for more info on the official device itself. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Yeah, one thing that KG5PDF had brought up was I didn't think of terrestrial line of sight really when it comes to using Yagi antennas. I guess that should be pretty obvious that if you can get a high enough elevation, you can get a pretty good 2 meter or 70 centimeter signal out there and hit repeaters that are quite far out. So in different rural areas or whatnot, if you have line of sight to certain repeaters, a Yagi antenna might be a better suit than other options out there for you. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I'll take check-ins here in just a moment, but I'll throw it back out. Does anybody have any comments, questions, check-ins, anything else so far that you'd like to speak about, or anything else you'd like to bring up? Please call now.
Late check-in, Kilo Echo 0, November Romeo Echo, Jim in Littleton with a comment.
Yeah, KE0NRE, Jim, with a comment. Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Daron. I've been listening to this very interesting discussion about antenna analyzers and the NanoVNA, and I thought about another alternative that would be helpful or could be helpful for tuning VHF and UHF antennas for those people who are building them, and that is a directional watt meter. I think MFJ has their 849, which will read not only HF but VHF and UHF power, and it'll also compute the SWR from the forward and reflected powers that it measures. I don't know how accurate it is or how it compares, but if you're also interested in measuring how much power is going out to your antenna, your Yagi antenna, this might be a nice twofer if you want to consider going that direction instead of a traditional VNA. Back to net, this is KE0NRE.
All right, KE0NRE, Jim. Yeah, good information there with the directional watt meter by MFJ. Yeah, interesting combination of different tools there. I'd have to just make sure I'm maybe looking at the right thing here, but looking at maybe a the MFJ 868, the giant HF plus 6 meter peak reading SWR watt meter. But yeah, really good information there. Very, very cool. Yeah, you got plenty of tools and options out there. It doesn't have to be completely touchscreen and digital and USB. Through some analog solutions, there's probably some cheaper ways to measure what you're looking for. You kind of just have to understand some of the basics of how these measurements occur and understand some of the basic math of this stuff, and you should be able to kind of work it out. So that's kind of why some of the higher priced products make it easier, but takes some of the work out of it, but puts a little bit of cost in it. So yeah, plenty of options out there. K1DBC Net Control. I actually just take this time to take any official check-ins. If you've just tuned in, my name is Daron, Kilo 1, Delta Bravo Charlie. I'm Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. It's a general Q&A about electronics, ham radio, STEM, and STEAM. And it's a place where if you're seeking help, there's people here to give you guidance. Everyone is welcome to join in. If there's anyone who wishes to check in at this time, please do so with your call sign using IT Phonetics, your name, and state if you have any traffic or questions for that. Please call now.
W0TX repeater.
This is November 1 Golf Uniform Mike. Peter in Littleton. Sorry I missed the earlier check-in, but I was listening in on the session. It's interesting as always, so thank you very much for all, and thank you, Daron, for moderating the meeting.
And you have Kilo Delta Zero, Whiskey Mike Oscar, Steve out in Aurora. Good evening.
K0 RCW, Robert in Lakewood. Good evening.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge the following check-ins. N1GUM Peter. It's my pleasure to be able to host this. Thank you so much for the compliments there. KD0WMO Steve and K0RCW Robert. Thank you all so much for checking in. Once more at the moment, this is K1DBC Net Control. If you'd like to check in on the air, please do so with your call sign, your name, and let us know if you have any traffic or questions.
S.t.e.m. question.
That'll be good, Tom. Thank you. I'll come back to here in just a minute. Appreciate it. Yeah, K0, S.t.e.m. Jonathan, go ahead.
I listened to an interesting discussion on one of the repeaters the other day. The gentleman asked a simple question: is how do you define an SDR, software-defined radio? What was the difference? It was an interesting discussion, so I thought I'd throw it out there. K0 S.t.e.m. back to net.
Great question there. This is a K1DBC Net Control. I am not an engineer by any background. I can tell you the very few bits that I know. It's electronics evolved from analog, if you will, into digital and into discrete electronics. using less components needed. Software-defined radio, kind of what we know it as in our consumer world, is it stemmed from basically an HD over-the-air USB tuner, a European tuner, and some Linux developers found that they were able to receive wideband spectrum from it. There's a bit more history if you look up GNU radio, for example. They have been involved with it for a long time. It's essentially using a combination of digital and discrete components and defining the physical components you want within software. That's just my 2 cents. There's a lot more to it. But anybody else on that? That's a great question there, Jonathan. So I'll throw that out to the net. Yeah. Anybody else have any other better definitions or further definitions of what software-defined radio is? A little more defined. Go ahead.
A0GQ, since nobody else jumped in.
All right. Very quickly here, yeah, the definition they have on their website here, the rtl-sdr.com. Radio components what is software-defined radio is the question. Radio components such as modulators, demodulators, and tuners are traditionally implemented in analog hardware components. The advent of modern computing and analog-to-digital converters allows most of these traditionally hardware-based components to be implemented in software instead, hence the term software-defined. This enables easy signal processing and thus cheap wideband scanner radios to be produced. So very high level there, very quick definition. So Tom, A0GQ, I'll throw it to you. Go ahead.
Jonathan, the big thing between software-defined radio and the superhead that you're probably using right now, among other things, is that very early in the process is converted from an analog signal to a digital signal. That is to say, it's turned into numbers. And from there on, all the rest of the processing, like the mixing and all the rest of it, is done as a mathematical function. It's done on the numbers. There may be some pre-selection, depends upon the radio ahead of it. Even the 7300, which is a SDR radio, it's still got some RF pre-selection in the front of it. It's just that most of it, as soon as it gets through some very limited selection, it hits a digital analog converter. And there are things like, technically, a modulator actually, or a mixer, is a multiplication. The standard 4-diode mixer that you find in your receiver or in your transmitter, that's part of your single sideband, well, actually, it multiplies 2 frequencies. So you can do things in digital that you can't do in analog. The big thing is, because it's all numbers, you can have an entire band. You can listen to a full 2 meg or 4 meg without it even thinking about it. And actually, you can record that and go back to it after the fact and tune it. I can tune the entire AM broadcast band on my little SDR play, record it. It makes pretty good sized files, about 2 gig files every few seconds. But I can go back, and it's just as though I can tune it as though it were live at that moment. I can go find any particular station that happen to be broadcasting at that moment. It's really, really fun to do. If you look at the GNU radio stuff, you'll see that they actually model it with mathematical components. So that's that. The other thing I wanted to point out was you were talking about line of sight. Last year, I was reading about it, and I believe it was 122 gigahertz. That's definitely line of sight. There's no bouncing on that one. And they set a record at someplace up in Northern California between 2 mountains, and it was, I believe, close to 90 miles. So there you can have a 90-mile line of sight. Back to net, A0GQ.
All right, A0GQ, this is K1DBC. Yeah, thank you for the follow-up there. Yeah, a lot of a lot of information to digest about what it is. I mean, this is something happening in academia and industry and research and government. So to be able to do it, to try to digest this at a hobbyist level is quite a lot. But we see kind of a lot from it though, so which is really cool to see. I guess with that, I'll throw it back to Jonathan, I guess. K0SUM, if you have any other follow-up on that, go ahead. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. I think our cell phones nowadays, well, maybe not, to take a grain of salt with this, but I think they're sometimes based on software-defined radio. I think they have one transceiver in them that's capable of potentially emitting on multiple bands, whether it be Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Again, citation needed on that, but software-defined hardware, software-defined things are coming into place now, where it's I guess that the Wikipedia definition, it's a radio communication system where components that have been traditionally implemented in hardware are instead implemented by software on a personal computer. So really, really cool stuff out there. A good place to find some information on them is rtl-sdr.com. I brought them up in the past. I'll probably bring up a news article from them here this evening, but plenty of information about software-defined receivers, transceivers, and all their usages. All right, we do have a little bit of a couple things here, but I'll throw it out to the net. Does anybody have any comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up to the net so far? Please call now.
KD0 WMO with a different question.
Yeah, KD0 WMO. Steve, go ahead.
Well, good evening, Darren, and thank you very much for doing the net. As always, you do a magnificent job. Obviously, I'm not on as much as I used to be, as some of you know. I used to be on all the time, but work changes have changed that. But anyways, I'm on tonight. Had a really interesting weekend, ham radio-wise. I got to work the Copper Triangle bike race on Saturday, and up in Copper Mountain, and Sunday was, of course, the Burro race down in Fairplay. But something happened up in Copper that I wanted to talk about real quick, and I'm going to reset. And pull over the car. So we used the car on a connection up there, and the Leadville repeater was down, so we had some other repeaters we had to try to use. And I have an FT8900 in my car that is programmed well, but didn't have all the frequencies in there. And luckily I had my Kenwood K20A handheld with me and a mag-mount antenna on the roof for it, because we had to use a frequency that I didn't have programmed. And to be honest with you, I'd forgotten, because I don't use the radio as much, how to program it. Some radios like the Kenwood 2-meter handheld that I'm using, that K20A, is the simplest radio in the world to program. So what I couldn't figure out in 15 minutes on my Yates, I was able to figure out in about 35 seconds on the Kenwood. So what they're talking about here is that we use RT system software and other things to program our radios, but it's really important to understand how the radio works. So if you find yourself in an event like I was, to be able to still work communications, you have to do what you have to do. So I just wanted to throw that out there and see if anybody else has something they can relate like that. KD0 WMO.
All right, KD0 WMO. This is K1DBC. I guess real quick, was that part of a specific areas group?
No, the Copper Triangle is it's a bike race that Roll SD people put on every single year. These guys ride pedal bikes 79 miles over 3 mountain passes. Crazy event. But we have close to 2,500 to 3,000 entrants each week, so there's a lot of people to keep track of, and that's where the radio communication comes in. So it's a fun event to do.
Okay, gotcha. This is K1DBC Net Control. Sorry, I think I doubled in there. I'll come back with what I had to say, but if somebody else had something in there other than myself or WMO, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, it was KG5 PDF in response to his question there. Yeah, especially with the DMR radios taking off, just learning it the first time.
Thanks, Tom.
Can be a hurdle, and remembering that afterwards is yeah, it's a whole different ball game. So this fancy anytone of mine here is we are still getting very slowly acquainted with each other. Yeah, so that's something I always try to do. Maybe some of the when I first get a radio, the first several frequencies I put in, usually like our main repeater, 2-meter simplex, 70-centimeter simplex. I always try to learn to put those in by hand the first go round, and to give yourself, just to, rip the Band-Aid off, And when people were out and about, people tell me, add this or whatever. I try to remember to add them by hand first. I may not set up alphanumerics or something. If I don't have anything better to do with my life for the next 20 minutes, I may go ahead and set alphanumerics. But then I usually, very quickly after that, I will hook up to it and download the program then so that I have a backed up version, and then set maybe some of the other channel specific settings, like maybe mid-power mode instead of high or something like that, and a lot of times the names, and then save that file with a comment. So anyway, KG5 PDF, still learning the anytone.
All right, KG5 PDF. This is K1DBC. Yeah, good information there. Yeah, if you can program things in ahead, yeah, that makes your life a lot easier. Yeah, the basics of a receiver that you would need to put in would be the receive frequency, the transmit frequency, and any tone that you would need on it. And again, the duplex or offset. And yeah, doing that in the field on the spot is a little bit challenging sometimes, depending on your radio. It sounds good though there with the K20, the Kenwood TH-K20 radio. Hopefully, it sounded like it was fairly easy to set some of those repeaters in there, some of the caller connection, I thought is what you said, some of the repeaters in there. So yeah, you have to kind of on the fly be able to figure out what your offsets and everything that you need to program in there, because sometimes, yeah, something catches you off guard and you don't have the right frequency built in. So without software like RT Systems or something like Chirp, doing it via the front of the radio can prove a bit challenging at times unless you've done it a few times. So yeah, definitely try to have hopefully a laptop in front of you and a programming cable. But yeah, glad to hear on there, Steve, that things went well for that. So this is K1DBC Net Control. I guess I'll throw it back over to WMO or anyone else on that topic about programming your radio on the fly through the front of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Kitty Zero WMO. I brought that topic up quite a few times when I would run this net back in the day, and it was, you know, when I got a radio, I delved into it and everything else. But then it's funny because I had a Kenwood 281A in here for a long time, and that's only got 200 memory channels, so that wasn't so hard to keep track of. But one of the nice things about the newer radios that have, or even the old ones like the FT60 or this 8900, they've got 1,000 memory channels or 900, whatever it is, 800 something. You know, you don't want to program 800 of them. Plus, with the different banks, it's nice. So when I drive down to Colorado Springs, I can just switch over to bank 2, and all they pick up is Colorado Springs repeaters, and, you know, it's wonderful. So that's where the RT System software just shines, because you can put all these channels in different banks without, you know, just a click of the mouse. Put it here. I'm going to put it there, there, and there, and you're done. But yeah, I was caught off guard, and it's funny because I knew it a month or so ago that I had to do this, and I even brought my manual with me, but I left it at the hotel room, so that didn't help me. But yeah, it's just important to really understand how the radio does work, and just be ready for something like that. And yeah, when you have to change on the fly, sometimes you're not thinking as clearly as you normally want to. And I'll leave it at that. Kitty Zero WMO. Thanks again, Dron.
All right, sounds good there, WMO. Yeah, I could probably program my analog 2-meter, 70-centimeter cheap Bofang without too much hassle, probably on the fly. But take an Anytone that has built-in 1,000 channels, 1,000+ channels and memories and things like that. It gets complex, and sometimes not all the options are there even for you to do everything you need to on the fly there. So. Yeah, good conversation there. Yeah, whether you're working with any ARES groups or any other emergency services groups or anything, if you you know, if they put out an ICS plan or something like that, you know, definitely try to go through it beforehand. Otherwise, you might be caught off guard, and it might might be an issue. But yeah, definitely have backups and things like that. So yeah, good information here. So with that, I'll throw it out to the net. This is. You know, actually, I'll throw it to Tom, AE0GQ. He had a couple things here. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Jerome. Actually, I already got one of them out there. The other one is just kind of a little bit of a warning. Low SWR does not necessarily mean resonance. You have to be kind of careful. They are somewhat related, but not entirely. So low SWR, you can use that as a measure, but you need to make sure that you actually have it in the right spot. The taps on your Yagi and stuff, so it doesn't necessarily mean resonance. And I do have a question for the net. I'm doing a presentation for another radio club who shall remain nameless, since it's not the Never Radio Club.
You're cheating on us, Tom?
In November on some inexpensive test equipment, which is like all the tiny SA and an inexpensive digital multimeter that you need to have if you're a ham when it gets right down to it. Or the NanoVNA is one of them, and some component testers and stuff. But what I have been looking for is a low-priced signal generator that does HF. Without any trouble, I can find one that goes from 35 meg to 4.4 gigahertz. I can find one that goes from 1 to 65 kilohertz, but trying to find one in HF that is inexpensive is a little bit harder to do. So if anybody has any suggestions for something like that, I would appreciate it. Thank you. And I probably should sign A0GQ.
Hey, Dan, got you checked in here. All right, Tom, A0GQ. Good question there. Yeah, a low-priced HF signal generator. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that. Yeah, I know we have signal analyzers, nano vector network analyzers. I don't know about the HF, the signal generators, though, so I'd imagine you're trying to simulate some sort of dummy load. Yeah, I don't know of any low cost. Just very quick precursory Google search here. One of the things, well, it's for 2012, but eevblog.com, pretty good blog there. I'll throw it out to the net, though. Anybody know of any fairly cheap or moderately priced HF signal generators? Go ahead. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Yeah, I guess we'll have to do a little bit of research on that. Looks like one option here is the Xilinx FPGA, which you could get, at least the control board you can get for about $5 to $10. And using an FPGA, again, we're talking about software-defined things here. It takes a bit of knowledge about how to do that, yeah, I don't know. Looks very sparse here, at least on the hackaday.com blog about signal generators. Not too many recent articles. I'll throw it out to the net, though. Anybody know of anybody or any of fairly cheap or commodity HF signal generators out there? Go ahead.
Comment KE0NRE.
Yeah, KE0NRE. Go ahead.
I guess the first question is, how cheap is cheap? Are we talking about something that's less than $25, less than $100, less than $150? There seem to be a number of options around the $100 point, but if you're looking for something that's less than $50, it's pretty slim pickings.
Tommy can follow up. I'm guessing maybe he's thinking $100 to $150 range, somewhere in there probably.
Actually, what I was looking for was cheaper than 100, to be honest with you.
Oh, there you go.
Remember, the theme of this is doing it on the cheap. So, I mean, I personally, there's a Coolertron that has one out there, and there's a Feel Good or something like that that's about $100, $120. There are several clones of it that are arbitrary function generators, and they cover the range, and they do quite well. But I was looking for something a little bit cheaper. Of course, that may not exist, and it may just simply be easier to use an inexpensive noise generator with like the tiny SA, which unfortunately doesn't have a tracking generator. So you could use a noise generator that goes up to 1.5 gigahertz, and then simply average it out. So that may be the way to go if I want to scan a filter, a bandpass filter, for example, and see what it's actually doing. So that was the goal. Thank you for that. And yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with that stuff. I do have an arbitrary function generator, but I promise it was cheap, but it didn't cost $100, unfortunately. It was a little more money than that. Thank you very much for that, though. If you have any other suggestions, let me know. Maybe I can come up with some way of taking that 35 megahertz to whatever gigahertz and run it through a divider to get it down on the right frequency. Maybe I can figure out how to do that. Thank you very much, sir. AU0 GQ back to net.
All right, good question there, Tom A. is your GQ, and good follow-up there, NRE. Appreciate it. Yeah, the more you want to do in this hobby and branch out a little bit, you'll need a little bit some more tools in your tool shed there. So, yeah, waveform generators, function generators, signal generators. If you want to simulate how something looks, that is in the real world. Put it over a piece of actual hardware. That's how you can do that. So. Very, very cool.
KG5 KG5 PDF with a comment.
W0TX repeater.
Yeah, KG5, a PDF. Jake, go ahead.
Well, to continue on the comments there, I never had looked at any of these integrated packages operate at that low of frequency. I was thinking in some classes we did interface with some analog devices chips with an Arduino and such, and just kind of a Google here did find a few. Looks like an article using the AD9833 signal generator, which is just an integrated package chip from analog devices, and you basically just use an Arduino to write serial commands to it. And the libraries for those usually aren't terribly complicated. And a lot of times you can find them where you just copy and paste. But I couldn't tell you anything from analog devices will be, reasonable quality for sure. And it looks like this one does 0 to 12 megahertz. I don't have any experience with it specifically, but a lot of interesting things their analog devices has that could be easily integrated with, say, an Arduino or something if your standards of performance weren't too terribly high.
All right, thanks there, KG5 PDF, Jake. Yeah, I know some of the microcontrollers out there, Arduinos, things like that, definitely have some abilities, RF abilities. And yeah, you put a different breakout board on it and put the right code on it, and you're off and running there. Very, very cool. Thank you.
NRE comment?
Yeah, KE0NRE. Go ahead.
We were talking earlier about the NanoVNA, and as I understand it, it's a two-port network analyzer, which means that in addition to doing the traditional antenna measurements, you could also ask it to put out an RF signal of any frequency that you wanted. It may not have much adjustment in terms of amplitude, but you should be able to get the frequency spot on and be as accurate as the NanoVNA is itself. Just a thought, but that might be all you need for the kinds of things that you have in mind for an inexpensive RF generator. Back to net, KE0NRE.
A0GQ.
Great information there, NRE Jim. Yeah, A0GQ. Tom, go ahead.
Jim is absolutely correct. It does very nicely. And to be honest with you, if you have a NanoVNA, you don't need a spectrum analyzer to do a Bodie plot, because the NanoVNA will do it. However, I just thought I'd let you know I found one. With the hint of the Analog Devices 9850, there is a board for $22.99 that you can control with a Nano without any trouble. That is to say, an Arduino, small Arduino, and had a couple buttons, and I think I've got it. It goes from 0 to 40 megahertz with sine waves. So thank you. Whoever came up with the suggestion, I appreciate that. A0GQ, back to net.
Excellent. Great to hear. The yeah, KG5 PDF mentioned a similar AD9833 by same company, Analog Devices, AD9850. Sounds like it would fit the bill well there for the frequencies and the range you're looking for. So very, very cool. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. We normally end around this time. Not a hard stop here. I wanted to thank KF0FSY for checking online, Dan. With that, though, I'll throw it out to the net. Does anybody have any other further comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up for the net so far? Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I have a few things, but probably save them for the Elmers session. Just always go ahead and check out the website RTL-SDR Romeo Tango Lima Sierra Delta Romeo.com. Plenty of information there about kind of what we're talking about. A lot of RF-based projects, fox hunting, and a lot of cool stuff here. They talk about the DEF CON 29, the software-defined radio topics that were brought up there. Lot of cool stuff. What else? Let me bring up one other thing here. This is K1DBC Net Control. Coming up this weekend, the QSO Today Virtual Ham Expo, QSOTodayHamExpo.com for more info. They have about 100 or so presentations, a lot of stuff about what we discuss quite often. So if you have any interest about radio, electronics, youth on the air, mesh networking, military, space exploration, I mean, everything it's kind of encompassed here. So QSOTodayHamExpo.com for more info on them. This is K1DBC Net Control. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was I had just recently put out field day video from our field day this past June. So you can check that out on my YouTube channel, Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie, K1DBC. You can also search on YouTube for our club call sign, K1DBC. It has some good time lapse, some good audio from our repeaters monitoring it. It's about a 10-minute video. A lot of good videos and photos. So if you missed it, or if you want to look back at it, there is a video online now. Okay, with that, I will put out, I guess, the last call for any other check-ins, comments, questions, anything else for the net you'd like to bring up. Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I'll watch a few minutes of the video here as we wrap things up, and I'll probably watch a couple minutes maybe afterwards. But one last call. This is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Are there any further comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up for the net? Please call now.
KG5 PDF for the quick one.
W0TX Repeater.
Yeah, KG5 PDF. Go ahead.
Hey, so I did shake hands with a handful of you over at Field Day a couple weeks ago. I've been a little bit out of touch lately. Lots going on, but Aries recently piqued my interest a little bit. It was brought to my attention that there are several active groups around here. So, I believe I heard some comments in there earlier. Specifically, I am in Arapahoe County, if that's familiar to anyone. Is there? I've seen some. I've kind of cruised their page there. Are y'all aware of any, say, weekly nets or something of the fashion that a person might be tuning into?
K0VBA.
Great question there, PDF. Yeah, the Arapahoe County Amateur Radio Emergency Services. Yeah, there was another comment in there. Go ahead.
This is K0VBA. I spent the last almost 20 years in Arapahoe County, and yes, they have, I believe it's a weekly net. Their two main frequencies are 146.64 and what's the other one? Well, anyway, that may be the frequency where the weekly net is up. K0VBA.
Thanks for the follow-up there, VBA. Yes, Sunday mornings, 9:30 Mountain Time. Primary looks like, 146.640, and secondary is 448.225. Yeah, definitely more info on their website, arapahoearies.org. Under their operations menu here, it looks like they have more info on their net.
Okay, very good. Appreciate it. Just thought that would be a, always throw the good questions in the hat of the Elmers there. So it's KG5 PDF.
Yeah, PDF. Great question there. Yeah, great group. I have not associated with them recently, but was for a bit. And yeah, if you have an interest in operating outside of within the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, within their comm center, dispatch center, they do that once in a while. And then they also have one of their served agencies is Airlift or one of the air. Helicopter air groups, and they help with that, and they operate out of there and get rides out of there once in a while, and they do a lot of cool stuff. So yeah, Arapahoe County Amateur Radio Emergency Services, ACER, is a great group to belong to. Yeah, big topic there, Aries. They encompass quite a lot. A lot of the hobby is part of Aries. County by county, they work with the Office of Emergency Management. Falls under the Sheriff's Office. So whether you're under Denver or Arapahoe County or Douglas County or counties throughout the United States, you should be able to find an Aries group as long as it's a fairly large metropolitan city or there's amateur radio. And yeah, they have a lot of the Aries, the Arapahoe Aries, they do a lot. They work with one of their big events is the Arapahoe County Fair, which is a lot of fun, just getting out there and meeting people and just kind of watching the fairgrounds and Denver group and a lot of other groups and work with in some of the different bike rides and a lot of different things that need radio communication support. So yeah, a lot of fun to get involved with Aries groups. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Once more, does anybody have any other comments, questions, check-ins, or anything else you'd like to bring up for the net? Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I guess to club business real quick here. More info on our club, Whiskey 0 Tango X-ray.org. Our next club meeting is going to be August 18th, next week. Presentation is Grounding and Bonding for the Amateur Radio, presented by Ward Silver, author of that. So he's going to be presenting different definitions and proper use of the terms grounding and bonding, various requirements for AC safety, issues and techniques for building ham radio home stations. A lot of expertise there. So August 18th, 7 p.m. It's going to take place online on Google Meet. More info on our website, W0TX.org. 1 hour prior to that, we have an Elmers session, which is similar to this meeting that took place this evening. Just a general Q&A, show and tell. So come and hang out for that as well. All recent club activity I've been archiving and streaming on YouTube. So if you miss any nets or you can't make it to the radio or whatever it is, I've been streaming our nets meetings, Sunday night nets, Wednesday night meetings, Wednesday night nets, Wednesday night meetings, Elmers sessions. So past 4-6 months or so. So check that out if you like. Okay, with that, I'll do one final call. Any last minute check-ins for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net? Please call now. Oh, okay. Very cool. Oh, what am I doing here? This is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. With that, we'll go ahead and close things out. This is K1DBC. If you wish to contact the Learning Net with topic suggestions or to set a date to act as net control operator or guest Elmer, you may do so via email at any time at drclearningnet@gmail.com. This is a very casual net. You definitely don't have to set a date to act as net control operator. If you want to operate as net control within any capacity, whether that be minimal, if you want me to help with check-ins, I'm more than always happy to help with that. So let me know any Wednesday night if you want to act as net control or do anything with that. Let me know. Again, more info on our groups.io/g/ham learning net for links to material on past net topics. This evening we had 25 check-ins. Definitely appreciate everyone who checked in and participated. We especially appreciate and thank our Elmers. Thanks to the Denver Radio Club for allowing us to use the repeaters for this net. We invite you to join us on the third Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. for an Elmer session prior to the regularly scheduled Denver Radio Club meeting at 7. Normally this takes place in face, but it is all online. Everyone is welcome to that. With that, all right. This is K1DBC Net Control. Thanks everyone for hanging out online on the air. With that, though, I'll play a couple minutes of the field day video online here, and you can always check that out if you missed it. But with that, this is K1DBC Net Control. I'll go ahead and place the repeaters into normal mode.
W0TX repeater. PL on.
All right, thanks everyone for hanging out here. Yeah, this is just a compilation of some of the photos and videos that we took here on field day, and some of the audio. So
Roger,
enjoy it.
I'm on my
Watch a couple
way. I
minutes.
only live a mile or two from the site. W0JSL clear.
All right, sounds good. This is K1DBC for the Denver Radio Club Field Day. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
W0TX repeater.
Yeah.
We now see the tri-band 3-element beam antenna fully set up.
Hey everyone, this is K1DBC Jerome. We're getting field day set up here. Lots of operations going on here.
Mark, N0XRX from Denver Water and Denver Water Amateur Radio Club brought out a crank-up tower as well.
all the antennas set up. The antenna, 20-meter operations going on over there under the tent, 40 meters in the van. Just in time for a field day to start, we got some rain.
Barb, W0BKS, and Jim, K02 Senior, helped with the canteen vehicle, serving food and meals throughout the event. Our 20-meter station consisted of a Yaesu FTDX10, which is an HF and 50 MHz 100-watt SDR transceiver provided by DIC N6WHV, and a SWR and power meter as well. Our 40-meter station inside the comm band was an ICOM IC703 R-mode transceiver, 160 to 10 meters and 6 meters. Output 10 to 0.5 watts, including an MFJ Versa tuner 2, all provided by the Salvation Army. Here are some club members adjusting the directionality of the beam antenna.
I still think the rope's on the direction.
At one point we had quite torrential downpour, but operations didn't stop.
Check out what you're missing here at Field Day, just torrential downpour.
We used HP Toughbucks running Windows 10 and M3FJP Field Day contesting logging software, and we had everything networked up, so we knew all the contacts that we were making. Yes, some director's commentary here, I guess. Yeah, Tom was asking about the antenna. I don't have all the information on the antenna, but yeah, plenty of information on the video description here of the transceivers, all the equipment we used. I'll have to fill in some of the information for the antenna, but yeah, so yeah, it's an 11-minute video. It's in the description here of the chat here. Again, it's on my YouTube. So I'll go ahead and probably stop for now, but thanks everyone for hanging out here for a few more minutes. Yeah, feel free to check out the rest of that video. If you were there and you know more information about that, let me know. And I'll be happy to update the information there. So yeah, happy to put this net on, all this stuff here. Oh yeah, that looks great. Yeah, it's good. So professional quality here. All right, so with that, 7 through all. Have a good night. I'll see you next week.